It began on a night shrouded in mystery, where the stars above whispered secrets of an unknown cosmos. In the quiet town of Crescent Falls, nestled on the fringes of the Nevada desert, the locals were used to odd phenomena: glowing lights, inexplicable power surges, and stories that grandparents told their wide-eyed grandchildren. However, none were prepared for the events that unfolded at the edge of the Allenby farm on that particular night. Dr. Elijah Reed, an astrophysicist, had been tracking unusual meteorological patterns in the area for months. His interest was not just professional, it was deeply personal. Since his childhood, Elijah had been fascinated by the stars and the possibility of life beyond Earth. This obsession led him to establish a small observatory just outside his hometown, equipped with an array of sensors and telescopes. As the night deepened, his instruments picked up an anomaly, a rapid drop in temperature followed by a sudden thermal spike, unlike anything he had documented before. Compelled by curiosity and years of unfulfilled hopes, Elijah grabbed his thermal imaging camera and drove towards the location indicated by his sensors. Arriving at the scene, he was met with a sight that would forever change his life. Cradled in the center of a scorched earth crater was a spacecraft, its design unlike any human engineering. It was sleek, metallic, and shimmered with a translucent glow under the moonlight. As Elijah approached cautiously, the hatch of the spacecraft opened slowly, revealing its occupant. She was unlike any being Elijah, or any human for that matter, had ever seen. Tall and lithe, her skin shimmered with an ethereal luminescence that seemed to pulse with life. Her eyes, large and expressive, reflected a galaxy of stars. She looked around, visibly disoriented before her gaze settled on Elijah. In a smooth, flowing movement, she stepped out of the craft, her feet barely touching the ground. "Human, what are you doing to my body? I can't handle this heat," she exclaimed, her voice a melodic blend that echoed slightly, as if speaking through water. Elijah, stunned into silence, realized the temperature around the spacecraft was unnaturally high, likely a side effect of its propulsion system or a protective mechanism. He had read about hypothetical scenarios in which extraterrestrial beings might have different physiological thresholds for temperature, but this was no longer hypothesis. It was reality standing right in front of him. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Are you in pain?" Elijah managed to stutter out, stepping forward with a cautious empathy. The alien girl looked at him, her expression a mix of confusion and distress. "This heat, it's too much. Where I come from, we don't experience temperatures like this. It's overwhelming." Realizing the urgency of the situation, Elijah quickly led her away from the spacecraft to his van, where he kept a portable cooling unit for his field trips. He activated it, and soon a gentle stream of cool air filled the back of the van. The girl sighed, a sound of relief that seemed to resonate with the wind itself. "My name is Elijah. What's yours?" he asked, trying to make her feel at ease. "Zara," she replied, her voice now steadier. "I am from Zaloria, a planet many light years away from here." As the initial shock wore off, Elijah's scientific curiosity began to resurface. "What brings you to Earth, Zara?" he asked, his tone a mixture of wonder and an academic thirst for knowledge. Zara looked out the window, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "It was not intentional. My vessel was damaged by cosmic storms. I was thrown off my charted course." The conversation that followed was filled with technical explanations about interstellar navigation, cosmic anomalies, and the biological adaptations of Zaloria's inhabitants. Elijah listened intently, taking notes and asking questions, his mind racing with the implications of this encounter. Meanwhile, Zara seemed to become more comfortable in the cool environment Elijah had created for her. However, beneath her calm exterior, a storm of emotions and desires, alien to her but kindled by the new and strange sensations of Earth's environment, began to stir, a heat of a different kind, one that neither science nor reason could easily explain. As the night turned into dawn, Elijah knew one thing for certain: his life, and possibly the future of humanity, had taken an unforeseen turn, and there was no going back. As the first rays of dawn stretched over Crescent Falls, Elijah and Zara sat amidst an array of improvised scientific equipment in the cramped quarters of his observatory. Elijah, driven by a blend of professional rigor and a growing concern for his extraterrestrial guest, had decided to perform some preliminary tests to better understand her physiological reactions to Earth's environment. Zara, for her part, cooperated patiently, intrigued by the human technology that seemed primitive yet effective. She explained that her species had evolved under a weaker sun and cooler skies, which made her sensitive to the more intense heat and light of Earth. "I feel it again, that overwhelming sensation," Zara murmured as she shifted uncomfortably on the metal chair, the cooling unit humming softly in the background. Her luminous skin seemed to flicker with subtle changes in color, signaling distress. Elijah adjusted a complex-looking device, a spectral analyzer he had adapted to measure various biological responses. "Just hold on, Zara. I'm trying to isolate what might be causing this reaction. Your physiology is quite unique, but I think it's a reaction to infrared radiation at a higher intensity than what you're accustomed to." Focusing on the readouts, Elijah noticed a pattern of fluctuating energy within Zara's biofield, a concept he found fascinating and alien. "It seems like your body reacts to heat not just physically, but also energetically. It's almost like your cells are trying to adapt in real time to the new conditions." Zara nodded, her gaze fixed on the instruments. "Yes, that is how Zaloria has survived cosmic events. Adaptation is immediate and necessary." Her voice held a trace of pride but also a hint of worry as she glanced towards the window, where Earth's sun was beginning to rise higher in the sky. Elijah, sensing her discomfort, quickly drew the blinds, casting the room back into a state of semi-darkness, illuminated only by the glow of his screens and the faint bioluminescence of Zara's skin. "We'll need to limit your exposure to direct sunlight for now, at least until we can develop something to help you regulate these reactions more comfortably." As they talked, Elijah began sketching out ideas on his digital pad, a suit that could moderate temperature and light, mimicking the conditions of Zaloria. Zara watched with interest, occasionally offering suggestions based on her own knowledge of her body's needs and the technology of her world. Suddenly, she tensed, her eyes widening. "Elijah, I'm feeling it again. The heat, it's different this time. It's not just external. It feels like it's coming from within me." Elijah paused, his expression turning serious. "It might be your body trying to internally compensate for the external coolness. Let's try to modulate the environment a bit more." Scrambling to adjust the settings on the cooling unit, he also activated another device, one that emitted a soft, pulsating light, mimicking the spectral qualities of Zaloria's sun. Zara sighed in relief as the sensations began to subside, her body relaxing visibly. "Thank you, Elijah. It's better now. I didn't anticipate such challenges with Earth's environment," Zara said, a faint smile crossing her features. "It's a learning process for both of us," Elijah replied, his mind racing with the implications of their findings. "I wonder if the adaptation process can be fine-tuned or if it will always be so volatile." Zara looked thoughtful. "On Zaloria, we have technologies to balance our internal conditions with external changes. Maybe I can guide you to make something similar here." Motivated by Zara's suggestion, Elijah dove into a technical discussion, outlining the principles of Earth-based biotechnologies that might be adapted or combined with Zalorian technology. As they delved deeper, both became engrossed in a shared quest to bridge their worlds through science. This collaboration marked the beginning of an intense research endeavor, drawing them into not only a journey of scientific discovery, but also an unexpectedly deepening companionship. In the small hours of the morning, the observatory was a hive of frenetic activity. Elijah and Zara were deep into the design phase of a bioadaptive suit tailored for Zara's unique physiology. The suit, which incorporated thin flexible panels of a graphene-based compound, was designed to regulate temperature and filter wavelengths of light that were harmful or uncomfortable for Zara. As they worked, Elijah found himself increasingly amazed not only by Zara's scientific acumen, but also by the subtle expressions of her alien emotions. Her face lit up with a luminescent glow whenever they made a breakthrough, and her distress was palpable when they hit yet another snag. "See here." Elijah pointed at the holographic display showing thermal and photonic stress tests. "The suit can handle Earth's midday temperatures now, but the UV filter still isn't sufficient. It needs to mimic the ambient Zolorian light more closely." Zara leaned over the display, her fingers tracing lines of data that floated in the air. "Perhaps we could integrate a layer of cholesteric liquid crystals. They naturally reflect specific wavelengths. We use them in Zoloria for habitat domes." Intrigued, Elijah adjusted the fabrication parameters and started a small-scale synthesizer that crafted materials at a molecular level. As the machine whirred to life, both of them watched intently, hoping that this adjustment would be the solution they needed. As the early prototypes of the suit came together, testing became more frequent. Zara, dressed in the sleek silver-lined suit, stood under the replicated light of an artificial sun Elijah had rigged up. She rotated her arms and bent her knees, testing the suit's range of motion. "It feels good," she said, a note of surprise in her voice. "The light, the heat, it's like a mild Zolorian morning." Elijah, monitoring the readouts from the sensors embedded in the suit, nodded in satisfaction. "The liquid crystals are working. They're adapting dynamically to the light intensity and shifting to keep the harmful UV out." Their success with the suit brought a new level of urgency to their work. Zara was keen to explore more of Earth, and Elijah was equally eager to learn about Zoloria from an actual Zolorian. Plans were made for a cautious outing. Zara's first trip outside the observatory would be to a nearby forest, where the canopy of trees would offer natural protection from direct sunlight. However, as they prepared for the outing, Elijah noticed a change in Zara's demeanor. She seemed distracted, often pausing in her work to look out towards the sky. One evening, as they were testing the navigation system of her suit, he finally addressed it. "Is everything okay, Zara? You seem somewhere else lately?" Zara hesitated, then turned to him, her eyes glowing softly. "I am worried about the signals I've been trying to send to Zoloria. There has been no response. It's as if I'm truly alone here." The weight of her isolation struck Elijah deeply. "We'll keep trying," he assured her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "And in the meantime, I'm here. You're not alone." Gratitude flashed across Zara's features, and she nodded, a silent acceptance of his support. The next morning, equipped with the suit and a new set of environmental sensors, they stepped out into the fresh air of Earth's wilderness, ready to face whatever challenges and discoveries lay ahead. The forest was a lush, verdant expanse, a stark contrast to the controlled environment of the observatory. As Elijah and Zara walked through the underbrush, the sun filtered through the canopy in dappled patterns, casting light that danced across Zara's suit, testing its adaptive capabilities. "This is beautiful," Zara remarked, her voice filled with awe as she looked around at the towering trees and the spectrum of greens. "It's so different from the arid expanses of Zoloria." Elijah watched her with a mixture of pride and curiosity. "How does it feel? Any discomfort?" "No, the suit is performing remarkably. I can feel the sun, but it's gentle, filtered. It's comforting in a way." Their path meandered through the forest, leading them to a small clearing where the river cut through the landscape, its waters clear and flowing swiftly. They stopped to collect water samples, as Elijah was keen to introduce Zara to Earth's ecosystems, explaining the roles of various flora and fauna within the biosphere. As Zara leaned down to scoop water into a sample container, she paused, staring at the reflection on the water's surface. "Elijah, on Zoloria, water is scarce. It's something we conserve meticulously. Seeing so much of it here, free and abundant, it's overwhelming." Elijah stood beside her, offering the container after she was done. "Water is life here as well, but thankfully, it's bountiful. It shapes our world, our cultures. Perhaps there are methods of conservation from your world that could benefit ours." Zara nodded, handing back the filled container. "Perhaps. Sharing knowledge goes both ways." As they continued their exploration, Zara seemed more at ease, her earlier tensions eased by the natural beauty and Elijah's companionship. However, Elijah noticed subtle shifts in her expression, an occasional furrowing of her brow, as if her thoughts were far away. "Zara, if there's anything on your mind, you can share it. Whatever it is, maybe I can help," Elijah ventured, watching her closely. She stopped walking, turning to face him fully. "I'm concerned about the longevity of my presence here. My body adapts, yes, but the energy it requires. I'm not sure if it's sustainable in the long term without access to my planet's resources." Elijah considered this, his mind racing through possible scientific solutions. "Let's focus on creating a more sustainable model for your energy needs. Maybe there's a way to harness the environmental energy of Earth, similarly to how we do with solar or wind energy." Zara's lips curved into a smile, her mood lightening. "I'd like that. Working with you, learning from this planet, it has given me a sense of purpose in an unexpected place." Their conversation drifted to lighter topics as they made their way back to the observatory. The day's excursion had not only provided them with valuable data, but had also deepened the bond between them, each finding solace in the other's dedication and curiosity. Back at the observatory, Elijah began drafting a new project outline, focusing on sustainable energy adaptations for Zara, inspired by the day's discoveries and discussions. Zara, rejuvenated by their trip, contributed eagerly, her insights pushing their scientific boundaries further. As night fell and the stars appeared, both felt a renewed sense of determination. The universe had brought them together under unusual circumstances, and together they were determined to make the most of this unexpected alliance. The days that followed were a blur of activity. Elijah and Zara's collaboration had shifted into an intense phase of development, focusing on the integration of Earth's renewable energy sources with the bioenergetic needs of Zara's physiology. The observatory turned into a makeshift lab with equipment and tools strewn about, diagrams and data screens glowing at all hours. During one late-night session, as Elijah calibrated a device designed to harness atmospheric electrostatic energy, a concept inspired by Zara's description of Zalorian storm harnessing technologies, Zara was quietly running diagnostics on her suit's energy integration system. Her fingers moved deftly over the holographic controls, but her expression was pensive, troubled. "Elijah, there's an inconsistency in the energy flow that I can't seem to correct," she finally said, breaking the night's focused silence. "It's as if the suit is drawing more power than it should, and the excess it's not being stored or converted efficiently." Concerned, Elijah rolled his chair over to her station. Examining the readouts, she pointed out, "That's odd. Let's trace the entire flow, see where the loss is happening. Maybe there's a feedback loop somewhere that's not showing up in the standard diagnostics." They spent hours poring over the data, tracing the energy pathways within the suit. As they worked side by side, Elijah couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in Zara's energy. Literally, the bioluminescent glow that usually suffused her skin seemed dimmer, less vibrant. "Zara, how are you feeling? Honestly?" Elijah asked, his tone laced with concern. She glanced up, her smile faint but genuine. "I'm fine, Elijah. Just a little tired. We've been pushing hard these last few days." Deciding to take a break, Elijah suggested, "Let's step outside for a while. A change of scenery might do us both some good." The cool night air was refreshing. The sky a clear, deep black, sprinkled with stars. They walked in silence to the edge of the property where the land dipped down into a small valley. Here, away from the lights of the observatory, the darkness was complete, enveloping. "It's beautiful, isn't it? The universe is so vast, and yet here we are, you and I, trying to solve a puzzle in a tiny corner of it," Elijah said, his gaze fixed on the stars. Zara looked up, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "It's more than just beautiful. It's a reminder of how interconnected everything is. My being here, our work, it could ripple out in ways we can't even imagine." Elijah nodded, the weight of their responsibility settling over him. "We'll solve the energy issue, Zara. We'll find a way to make this sustainable for you." They returned to the lab with renewed vigor, tackling the problem from a different angle. Elijah proposed using a piezoelectric component to capture mechanical energy from Zara's movements, which could then be converted into electrical energy to supplement the suit's needs. Zara was quick to sketch out a modification to the suit's design, integrating the piezoelectric fibers into the fabric. "This could work," she said, enthusiasm returning to her voice. "My movements could essentially power the suit itself." They worked through the night, testing and refining the new design. By dawn, they had a prototype that showed promising results. The energy losses were down, and the suit maintained a stable bioenergetic environment for Zara. Energized by their progress, they planned further tests and refinements. Their partnership had grown deeper, bound by shared goals and mutual respect, each challenge faced together strengthening the bond between them. As the sun rose, casting long shadows across the cluttered workspace of the observatory, Elijah and Zara prepared for what they hoped would be the final series of tests on the modified suit. The new piezoelectric system had been integrated overnight, woven into the fabric of the suit like a network of fine veins, designed to harness and recycle Zara's kinetic energy. "Ready for another day?" Elijah asked, his eyes bright with anticipation despite the lack of sleep. Zara nodded, her own excitement palpable as she donned the suit. "Let's see if our adjustments hold under more rigorous conditions." They moved to a specially prepared testing area outside, where obstacles and varying terrains had been set up to simulate different levels of physical activity. Zara began the test, moving through the course with a graceful agility that belied the critical nature of the experiment. Elijah monitored the energy readings closely, his tablet displaying real-time data streaming from the suit's sensors. As Zara completed the circuit, a triumphant smile spread across her face. "It feels stable, Elijah. The suit adapts seamlessly to my movements." Elijah's eyes were on the data, which showed a consistent level of energy efficiency that they hadn't seen in any previous tests. "The energy retention is impressive. It's maintaining a perfect balance. You're generating just as much power as you use." This success marked a turning point. With the suit's functionality ensured, they could now focus on broader applications, like adapting similar technologies for Earth's own environmental challenges. But there was another issue looming on their horizon: the unresolved matter of Zara's communication with Zaloria. Turning their attention back inside, they set up the communication array Elijah had been adjusting to match Zalorian frequencies based on Zara's specifications. The array hummed to life, casting a series of low, pulsating sounds through the observatory. "Let's try again," Zara said, her voice tinged with a mix of hope and anxiety. She initiated the sequence that would send a burst of encoded data towards her home planet, now millions of miles away but never far from her thoughts. They waited in tense silence, the array continuing its rhythmic hum. Minutes stretched into hours, and just as they were about to give up hope, the console beeped. A signal, weak but unmistakable, returning from the depths of space. Zara's eyes widened in shock, then joy. "It's a response. My team. They've received my messages. They're alive, and they've been trying to reach me just as I have them." Elijah's relief was palpable as he watched her, her luminance now brighter than he had ever seen it. "What do they say?" "They've stabilized the situation that caused my initial misroute. They're preparing for a rescue mission, but it will take time. They've also sent new data to help us enhance the suit further, technology that hadn't been fully developed when I left." With this good news, their work took on a new intensity. Zara was not just an accidental visitor now. She was a bridge between two worlds. Together, they refined the suit's technology with the new Zalorian data, enhancing its capabilities beyond anything Elijah had imagined possible. The days passed, and the bond between human and alien grew stronger, their joint efforts a testament to the power of collaboration across the stars. When Zara eventually looked towards the sky, it was no longer with a sense of isolation but with hope and a promise of reunion with her people. Elijah stood by her side, watching the stars with her. "When they come," he said softly, "they'll see what we've accomplished together. Maybe this is just the beginning." Zara nodded, her gaze thoughtful, reflective. "Yes, the beginning of something greater than either of us could have envisioned." As they turned back to their work, the observatory aglow with light and activity, the starry sky above seemed to echo with possibilities, a future written in the convergence of distant worlds brought together by chance and bound by shared curiosity and determination.